Russia goes to the polls amid crackdown on political dissent. The head of Russia's Central Election Commission, Pamfilova, has dismissed criticism of the vote, saying the entire political and social spectrum of Russia is represented in the elections. But political observers say the vote leaves little room for genuine opposition to Putin, and independent political activism is confined to an increasingly tight space. The latest crackdown on political dissent was signaled when Kremlin critic and opposition politician Alexei Navalny was poisoned with the nerve agent Novichok in Siberia in August 2020. Navalny blames Russian security services for the attempt on his life, which the Russian government has repeatedly denied. The US and European Union largely agree and have sanctioned Russian officials for their involvement. His sentencing prompted more demonstrations, but while tensions were high, with thousands of detentions and accounts of heavy-handedness by police, Russia didn't descend into the kind of mass unrest seen following the contested election in neighboring Belarus in 2020. They are afraid of new leaders.
Gradina, who used to run Navalny's Murmansk regional office, alleges that she was forcibly hospitalized for coronavirus in July in what she believes was an attempt to make her miss the deadline to submit the relevant election documents. Despite finally submitting her application, the local electoral commission didn't register her as a candidate because of her extremist association with Navalny, she said. Putin does not like any kind of competition and he destroys all his political competitors. They are afraid of new leaders, Gradina said, as she vowed to continue her efforts to implement political change. Kremlin clearing out the electoral field. The main reason for my arrest was my plans to participate in elections to the State Duma, he said in his written reply, adding that had concealed nothing and that he was ready to start campaigning when he was detained. In these elections, the Kremlin has set itself the task of completely clearing out the electoral field. In the context of the falling ratings of United Russia and the growth of protest sentiments, strong independent candidates, due to their bright campaigns, could significantly affect the situation, Pamfilova said. The Kremlin could not allow this on the eve of the 2024 elections and decided to completely clear up from all living things. Monitor, first big test for smart voting pointing to low polling for Navalny across the country, Stanovaya said that with little resistance from society, authorities choose to go with the harshest approach they can. But polling from state-funded pollster VTSIOM also indicates that support for United Russia is low, at around 29%. Stanislav Andreychuk is the co-chairman of Golos, an independent Russian vote monitor which was labeled a foreign agent last month. He believes this was done to make it more difficult for the group to monitor the elections, and says he believes authorities are concerned about flagging numbers and the possible influence of an initiative being encouraged by Navalny's team, known as smart voting. Smart voting urges Russians to vote tactically in support of a candidate most capable of unseating an incumbent from United Russia. Navalny's team published its list on Wednesday with very few opposition candidates standing. Most of the candidates it recommends are members of the Communist Party. Authorities are not entirely sure what results they will get due to civil activities and the influence of smart voting. This election is the first big test for smart voting, Andreychuk said. Andreychuk concedes that United Russia is likely to gain a majority, as expected, but says the question is how large that is. Russia's internet watchdog Roskomnadzor blocked access to the smart voting website due to its connection to an extremist organization, a reference to Navalny's now outlawed political movement. And Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov suggested that smart voting efforts were, in fact, a campaign designed to cast doubt about the legitimacy of the Russian elections. We have a negative view of it, he said in a conference call with reporters Friday. We think they are provocation attempts that actually harm the voters. We can't give up. Anastasia Brukhanova is one of the few opposition candidates who is running for a seat in the Duma elections, in a wealthy Moscow constituency. She has been backed in Navalny's smart voting list and says she hopes it will increase her share of the vote by 7 to 12%. Despite the uphill battle for the opposition, she thinks it's important to keep going. Despite the pressure, Brukhanova feels optimistic about the future of Russian politics. Someday this regime will end anyway, for whatever reason. And by this time, I would like us to have this liberal force of people with experience in campaigning, politics and speaking, she said. They cannot yet be called oppositionists, but the demand for change is growing, and the composition of the State Duma that will be offered to them will clearly not satisfy them, he said.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.